Hello everyone, today we are going to do a very interesting poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson, his most moving poems, that is Break, Break, Break. This poem beautifully captures the themes of loss, grief and the passage of time. So let us explore the meaning and importance of this poem together. In this video, you will get the line-by-line meaning of the poem, word meanings to difficult words, the various themes of the poem, a discussion on a sense of grief, transience of human life, and memory and nostalgia. Now, as you can see from the pictures, the first important thing that we need to make note of is that when this poem was written, it is said that Alfred Lord Tennyson, who wrote this poem, wrote it in the memory of his dear friend Arthur Henry Hallam. In the first stanza, Tennyson uses the metaphor or the example of the sea to convey the speaker's grief. The breaking of the waves represent the inner turmoil, the inner struggle, the emotional breakdown, the sadness that the speaker is feeling on seeing the sea break its waves on the seashore. It is as if the speaker is directly talking to the sea and emphasizing or repeating the fact about how the waves continuously keep crashing its waves against the cold grey stones. Now the repetition over here of the word break conveys the sense of sorrow, sadness and inner frustration that is there in the speaker. Next, the speaker is wishing that he too could express these deep emotions and thoughts just as the sea is able to replicate its feelings and emotions through the way in which the sea's waves keep crashing along the seashore. Now I'm sure many of you have visited a seashore. Here is a picture for you of how there are certain seashores. Now that's like a tongue twister. There are certain seashores which are lined up with stones. Not all seashores are meant for you to go and take a dip in the sea. So this is one such image representing how the waves could possibly be breaking on the seashore, which the poet mentions in stanza 1. Now in stanza 2, the poet, remember, he's standing on the seashore. What is the other thing he observes? He observes that there is a fisherman whose boy and girl are playing on the seashore. Right? Now when a person is playing, or when people are playing, when children are playing, it conveys a sense of happiness, a sense of joy. Now this sense of happiness and joy is in contrast to the speaker's own grief and his inability to be able to find this kind of joy and happiness in his life, because at this time he's feeling really upset and sad, and on seeing someone else happy, it is further making him sad. Similarly, the speaker observes the son of a sailor or a young man who is sailing along the sea. The boat or the ship in which he has been sailing, it has just come on the seashore or on the bay, and this suggests a sense of freedom and happiness. Again, this is in contrast to the sense of heaviness that the speaker is feeling. He's feeling really heavy on his heart. His emotions are just bringing him down, and it's not letting him live freely with happiness. It's only when you're happy that you'll feel a sense of freedom. If you're sad, you'll feel like you have been trapped somewhere, right? So here the poet is showing how the speaker is feeling trapped in this kind of a sad situation of having lost someone who was really close to his heart. And on the other hand, there is the sailor's lad or a young man who is singing about and sailing in a very free manner with a lot of freedom along the seashore. As the poet is standing on the seashore, what makes him sad? The poem gives us two examples. The first, the fisherman's son and daughter playing on the seashore, which is a happy sight that makes him sad. The second, of a young boy or a sailor who's sailing in the boat. And the stately ships go on to their haven under the hill. The speaker here watches big, huge, large, majestic ships as they continue with their journey, and when they are progressing towards their destination is a safe place, a safe harbor beneath the hill where the ship will go and be parked over there. Now this can also be interpreted as a metaphor or an example for people who find peace in death. Often it has been noticed that there are some people, while they are alive, they are never able to find happiness, but to some people, with death, their life becomes more easy. So that is the comparison being made over here. And then the poet goes on to say, but oh, for the touch of a vanished hand and the sound of a voice that is still. Here the speaker is expressing a deep sense of longing, a yearning, or he's missing the touch of that hand or the sound of that voice that belongs to someone who has passed away. Here the phrase is the vanished hand and the voice that is still. It refers to the friend who is no longer alive, who's no longer with the speaker, and being able to miss that person to such an extent, he is not being able to control his emotions. And this is true. Recently, when I lost someone who is really close to my heart, this same kind of thing happened with me. If for any of you, unfortunately, you have witnessed the death of a closed one, you too would be feeling this same sense of loss, this same sense of sadness that the speaker is feeling here. Break, break, break at the foot of thy crags, O sea. Once again, the poet is addressing the sea and saying or repeating the word break over here, which is the speaker's address to the sea for its unceasing or unstoppable waves as they continue to crash against the crags. The word crags means rocky cliffs, the stone-like structures. In some places there are rocky cliffs or mountain-like structures which are there. So the sea's waves are still breaking against those kind of shorelines. But the tender grace of a day that is dead will never come back to me. So the speaker over here mourns the loss of a past day that held tender or very sweet and happy memories. This nostalgia, when he is thinking and reflecting back on those happy times, it brings a sense of sorrow, and the poet realizes the beauty of that day that he had spent with his friend or someone who's really close. So that is the sense of longing. Now the first, foremost and the most important theme of the poem is grief and loss. This is the main theme of the poem, remember? Here the speaker is expressing his deep sense of sorrow or sadness as he is mourning the death of his dear friend. Next, there is a repetition of the word break, break, break. Now I've used the word refrain over here. Refrain is actually a figure of speech often used by poets in English literature. So here he is repeating this word over here, which resembles the waves crashing against the rocks, and it also symbolizes the continuous nature of grief. And lastly, the sense of longing, or how the speaker misses the touch and the voice of the departed or the dead friend, further highlights how sad the speaker is feeling at the moment when the poem is written. Now, something that I as a person have also learned after the COVID period is to live each moment to the fullest, because life is uncertain. Now this is exactly what the poet is also trying to tell us through the theme of the poem, Transience of human life. That is, human life is fleeting. You cannot control time, you cannot stop time. So we should live each and every moment to the fullest, because a moment once lost cannot be reclaimed. That is the reason why you should spend more time with your loved ones, with your near and dear ones, because a person once lost or gone cannot be revived or brought back into your life. The next important theme is nostalgia and memory. Now this is something which is very evident, how the poem is constantly showing that the speaker of the poem constantly looks back at the memories that he has shared with his friend in the past, the happiness of those moments of the past, and how those moments are still making him very sad, because now the memories are the only things that remain. The living person, that life and body of that person is no longer there. It is only in memories that his friend is alive now, and he still keeps missing his friend. So that's it from this video. I will see you with another interesting video next time. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel for other such interesting updates related to literature. Thank you for watching. Bye.